Welcome back. I'm Wavepunk, and this is week 56 of the Producer Diaries. I have a few different projects to show you guys. Start kicking things off here with some bass music. We're continuing to try and develop our sound design, our ability to make good basses. This isn't bass music, but it is very bassy. This project is a bit more of a sound like sandbox where I'm trying to like design the basses here, less actually trying to like make a piece of music. The main sounds we made here was this guy, which is a pretty cool sound. Looks like this. In the DAW, we got this Fred Likes bass. I watched some tutorial where some guy recommended this wavetable. If you have Serum, this is a wavetable you have for free called Fred Likes bass, and it's literally a guy like saying like I like bass. Or maybe saying Fred likes bass, if you can like move just through the wavetable uniformly. If I turn off some of the post-processing and other effects, it's like that, the wave with some hyper distortion, chorus and compression and an equalizer and a delay and reverb on still, you get a little bit better of an idea of kind of what that sounds like. There's a few spots where it's like, and if you kind of like have it move a bit, it starts to sound like a growl. These two guys kind of combine create a bit of moving sub there. The filter helping as well. The OTT is doing a lot of work to actually kind of give it that shine, that edge to it. We got fat effects with some saturation, some bass enhancer, some hard clipping, and then a compressor on top of it just to have that initial click not be as intense. So getting a little bit better. We have two different instances of it here, so we just get like a little bit of a different sound between the two. The only difference between these two sounds is just how severely this LFO1 here is affecting the things it's affecting. You can see the PWM here is just a little bit less severe on this one, as well as the wavetable position for number one, again, less severe. So it's just more, it just sits a slightly different place in the wavetable, and in the PWM is mainly that wavetable difference that's making the difference there. The other cool thing that was being done in this project is this sound, which is kind of inconsequential, but this is an idea I got off of Instagram. I should plug the creator who put this out, but I've been seeing a lot of people posting this one around. This was on a reel. I took a soundscape. Just took that from Splice and put it into a sampler, and then put the sampler on a MIDI information from a drum groove. This is like from a drum loop in Logic here, but because it's on a melodic item, it's like playing it like kind of with this percussive rhythm to it. It's wonderful way to kind of get a very easy, interesting soundscape chop. And so that was a fun thing to make. I made that, bounced that, put some effects on it. Ultimately, it was with that guy, which was pretty cool. And then for percussion, I've started doing this thing where I just kind of sing, or like there's like kind of like beatboxing sort of sound into the microphone when I want to do drums. If I sit there and try to like put in the drums one by one, my ear can't hear what it was hearing in its head. But if I just get it out of my head like as raw as it is, and then like use it as a reference, I can usually make much better drums, which you'll see really a lot in the second project I'm going to show you, which is a much more full, complete project today. But this idea here, this is me just singing. If I turn off all this processing, it's a good little groove, right? And so I was like, honestly, I kind of like this. Can I find a way just to chop this up and kind of make this cool like sub thing? So I put a gate on it, and then some gain to bring it up, and then some mutator here to kind of lower it down. Fat effects to enhance the bass. Pro Q4 to knock off a lot of the high end. Dimension expander, and now we're at a point where it kind of sounds like a drum, so a little like kind of sub hit. If you don't have good headphones or like sub monitors, you probably won't hear that at all. It was a cool sound. I would love to iterate on this idea and make it better. Then we put in some this is like a normal like little drum sound The drums here are pretty weak. Honestly, the bass sound design was the coolest part of this project. The next thing I made was way cooler. I woke up one morning last week and I was just scrolling on TikTok and found this sound by Justin Jen. That's the majority of it. Go and listen to his content. It's a wonderful, wonderful stuff. And I was like, I bet I can make that into something pretty cool. I sat down and made this sound, which I think is pretty sick. I love that. It is gorgeous. It's one of my favorite things I've ever made, and I do plan on finishing this track, especially because it's already so kind of done. There's just a few more sections where it doesn't, I think, require that much more effort to finish, and I think it'd be pretty cool, and I think I'd love listening to this for the rest of my life. So this was pretty cool. The vocal was, homemade. It was just me.
If I ran away,
very Owl City.
Would you go with me?
The chain up here is a Pro Q4 taking out all the low ends, and then again just bringing it up to a usable volume. An auto-tune or an Antares vocal compressor, vocal auto-tune there with auto-tune set to 0. Retune speed 0 here, humanized 0, just trying to make it actually intentionally robotic there. I love that sound. Again, taking out the lows, and then this one just kind of a more like active EQ that was a preset, the bright vocals with DS from Pro Q4. Just kind of threw that on there and it sounded good. Then after I bounced that, there's an actual de-esser, some dimension expander. I love dimension expander on vocals, especially in EDM. A gate to take all of the little chops, all little vocal plosives and stuff out.
If I ran away, would you go with me?
It does a really good job actually of just like taking out all the stuff I don't want and minimizing breaths. This gain's not doing anything, and then just a little bump around 870 hertz because it sounded right in the mix. The guitar lift's pretty much unflipped. There's some dimension expander on it because all TikToks come in mono, so just a tiny little bit there. I guess it's not that small, but less so than, it's not supposed to be a really noticeable thing, just to give it some stereo information, some Pro Q4, and one of the first instances of really finding an effective use for side chain spectral EQing here. I've done this before, but never quite as well as here with these two guys.
If I ran away,
turn this off.
Would you go with me? I've got the keys to the car, my mom's credit card.
The voice and the drums there, or the voice and the guitar there, are kind of on top of each other. We're with it on.
If I ran away, would you go with me? I've got the keys to the car.
It's notably more clear. I love that actually is working in this circumstance. The little spectral AI thing is doing its job. The drums are fun. There's nothing particular. This is the first instance of me doing that effect where I was in the last project where I was like singing in a percussion. I was trying to put the drums in. I was like, why is this so boring? The guitar has this wonderful kind of creates these wonderful pockets. It's not perfectly like just gridded up a lot of the times. So I wanted to like follow the chords. The chords like come in on like the and of the measure before, on like the fourth beat and stuff like that on the off beats. And so I wanted to have the drums follow that. And so I was trying to put in the drums. It wasn't working. And so I just played the guitar and this little, and turned the microphone and just sang in the drums. And it came out like this. It was so easy for me just to like sit there and sing in what I wanted the drums and to kind of put the kicks in all these little pocket spots that my brain was feeling, but I was just trying to like drag the kicks in like from splice. I was putting them in the most normal like 4 on the floor type spots, and it wasn't completely killing what I was hearing in my head. So creating this and then just using this as a reference, every time I saw this shape, I'm like, oh, let's just put a kick there. Let's put a kick there. Here's a sort of sound. So we'll put 2 softer kicks and then a louder kick, and then just do that for the rest of this. And then there was a few spots where I just like, after listening through, I'm like, this needs a few extra kicks here and there or whatever. The snare is more or less in all the same spots, and that gave us these drums. The guitar is that wonderful like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and sort of rhythm, and I wanted the kick to really emphasize that. That's honestly way more important to how good this piece is than I think your ear would naturally give it credit for. The bass I think is also a really good sound, while being not actually that subby, as you can kind of see in the mini meters down there. It's pretty. It's kind of a mid sub, like a very kind of like low mid sort of sounding area. But I think it gels with everything else in a pretty effective way. This middle section is fun. I'm not going to talk too much about it. It's just kind of pads and little light sounds. A very portamento-y saw wave compared to these guys, which are distorted sine waves. It's all just supposed to be very, very pretty, very lush. And then over here, the only other thing I would point out here that I think is kind of cool is this sound down here, which notably, to go back to this section real fast, the voice and the guitar are playing with each other here. The guitar is this like, there are these heavy chords that then have these flurries of melody in them. Right? And so I want to make sure those melodies are really kind of popping out, and so I'm singing over the chords and letting the melodies come through by themselves. It creates a good handoff, call and response sort of thing, and I wanted to maintain that over here in this section where I'm letting the guitar shine a little bit more, but I also, I don't know, it was just kind of, I didn't want it to just sit by itself, and this little like idea of putting these little square arpeggios, this is just kind of a simple square wave, very low with a filter on it, giving us this sort of sound, very Game Boy-esque. It sits really in kind of this pretty spot with the guitar, which is very treble in those melodies there. The rhythm of the two of those really kind of bounce with each other. I was just kind of playing that. I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I left that in. I think these are very unquantized, if I remember correctly, because I really liked the spot they were sitting in. Yeah, I didn't quantize these to leave them in the exact specific pocket I played them into. And that's the biggest thing that's kind of different in this section from the other section. It's a fun sound. I like that in the back there. So this was definitely the thing I was most proud of. Go give that a watch on various platforms. That little reel I put in here, please. Cause it would mean a lot to me if that song did well. The last thing I worked on was, again, more bass music, or more drum and bass. I'm working on bass sound design here in kind of this Vengeant follow along. This is a project I started in a previous week where I was trying to just like build a different drum and bass groove based off of one of Vengeant's new tracks. His Tension's Boiling Up track or whatever has this like cool place that uses the kick in a different spot. There's a different video about that one. This one's more about the bass design. I like that sound. It's not the most interesting bass, and the thing the biggest mistake I make with basses always is just trying to make one bass that is the whole thing. And like every cool drum and bass track I hear is using different sounds for different sections or for different like parts of the bar, parts of the phrase. It's not just one instrument. So I gotta stop doing that. But I sort of feel like I never quite get one to a place where I feel good enough about it to go on and move on to the next one. This one is 3 saw waves, all doing kind of slightly different things. This one is FMing from this one. This one is FMing from the white noise down here. So we kind of have these are stacking on top of each other. If I just solo this by itself here, I could probably turn this guy off. You lose some body. You turn this guy off, you lose some noise. And if you turn this guy off, you lose the 5th. And that's a pretty cool bass too. There's definitely a place for both of those. Notably, this octave and a 5th here is the only of the voices that is got multiple voices. These are one voice kind of straight up the middle. This one has 5 voices at 20%, and I think it does a lot for kind of creating some width on in the high end of the bass. You don't want width as much in the low end so that it keeps that, mono integrity, but creates some width in the area of the bass we do want to have some interest there. And then the kind of the normal stack of effects that we usually see in basses when I make them in Vital, because I don't know else what I'm doing here. Some chorus, some distortion, some compression. This filter is giving us that chug. We're creating that effect through 2 different things because this is giving us that normal just joom 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 joom. But without this guy, it's pretty normal. It's just kind of the same sound every single time. This one down here, if I bypass it, is this shape, so it's giving us this. It's just slowly moving where that kind of foundation of the filter cutoff is, while the other one is actually the one kind of moving it. You just put them both on the filter cutoff here, and it creates this effect where you get the do 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 do, but this is kind of moving that bass line, so it goes do 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 kind of thing. This was a cool sound. I was happy with that one. This one I could see myself doing something with. I did like this sort of sound as well up on the top. A really fun effect. I did make that one last week though, so I don't think that maybe I didn't show that one last time. Anyways, it's saw waves. This other sound was kind of fun. I was kind of trying to make Vengeance in his track has this like kettle. Sort of thing in the background. I was trying to make something kind of like iterative off of that sort of idea. We have this sort of inverted saw wave here that's at the back of the basic shapes wave table here, going through an all-pass filter that I am modulating with this stepper, creating a bit of different shape there, and we're also FMing from noise. We've FM'd from noise a few times in this project. I was recently re-listening to a lot of Porter Robinson after making the last track I showed you, which just kind of has a Porter Robinson vibe to it, and I looked up how do you make the lead sound from his new track Russian Roulette, and the guides I found talked about FMing from noise, which is something I'd never really tried before. So I'm doing that in a few different spots here, and this is one of those, just to create extra texture on a sound without just having to rely on the detune. Those little extra shapes in there, a lot of that's coming from this FX5 that's being FM'd in here to this basic shape. Then we have some reverb, some EQ. This EQ is doing some of the work and creating the little like peaks and stuff in there. And if I swap this over to the saw, or there in the square, you really hear it. I liked that sound. It generally all kind of was a bit too grady though. If I turn this off, it's a little obnoxious up there, so I've left it down here on this shape. That's the music I made this week I'm still working on stuff and trying to finish up other YouTube videos. I really want there to be more than just one YouTube video every week, so I'm going to keep on working on that. I also probably the next video will be coming out here in just a few days. I want to move my weekly videos to be on Fridays instead of on like Tuesday, Wednesdays like they are right now. So if the next video seems kind of close to this one, that's why. But thanks so much for watching. Appreciate you all being here along the journey. That's all we had time for this week. See you guys next week. Bye-bye.